What am I going to do with my life? Raise your hand if you've ever asked yourself that question. Come on, help me now. Raise your hands, don't be shy. Okay, I see one hand, two hands. Oh, okay, I see a lot of you. Basically, as you. Now, do me a favor and keep your hand up if you feel like everybody else has it all figured out except you. Okay, now take a second and look around. Now you can put your hand up. She felt that too. When I was 17 years old, this was what I spent 3 years of my life building. I was building an art portfolio for my dream school. I wanted to get a scholarship at Parsons University in New York. It was one of the top art and design schools in the world. And after years and years and years of hard work, sleepless nights, eye back, stress, it worked. I got exactly what I needed. A scholarship. Why I needed it? Because although I was fortunate enough to be born into a good family with good education, my family was nowhere near the type of family that could afford splurging 2 billion rupiah on a school year. So definitely, I wasn't the type to go to the big eye. You know, I could already picture myself walking down Fifth Avenue, with that song in the background, that song? In New York, concrete jungle. Yeah, you know that pop. I could already picture myself with that plane at the back of my head. When the pandemic happened. When the pandemic came, and it came so suddenly, it ripped every single shred of hope I had. In a blink of an eye, my family's financial situation turned for the worst. Where even with the scholarship that I got, and it was a very big scholarship, mind you, I could not even go to New York. I couldn't even fly up there. I remember crying my eyes out when I pressed send on that projection email. And I asked myself the same question that I asked earlier. Okay, what am I going to do with my life now? But the difference was, I didn't raise my hand up in this room. I raised it all alone in my room, crying. Probably just like you. Just like all of us. Wondering, what am I going to do with my life? When all plans fail, what am I going to do with my life? But somehow today, I'm standing here. Not as someone who made it, but as someone who, hey, turns out, did something with her life. I'm now 23 years old, and I've built a following of over 4.5 million people on my social media. And I founded a jewelry business that's now in one of the most popular malls in Jakarta, Indonesia. And it all started from one evening. That one evening, 5 years ago. How can I ever forget that evening? I just rejected my dream scholarship. I didn't have no money to my name, no backup, and I just called myself a loser, probably going to be homeless, jobless, futureless for like the 200th time that week. Okay, so safe to say, I needed a walk, okay? So I went for a walk. And then when I was walking, I noticed my local gardener in front of my house for the 5th time that week, doing the same thing he's been doing for those 5 days. He was trying to pull up some wet grass. Oh, and he was clearly frustrated, guys. He's been in the same spot for 5 days. I asked him, why are you still here? I've seen you for 5 days. You've been pulling up the wild grass. Isn't it like all gone by now? He looked up to me and he said, "Ha, I wish. These are wild grass. See, the thing about these things, Park, they're very stubborn. Even if you pull it, even if you burn it, they will come back. They always come back. It just needs a little space, a little crack, a little crevice, and it'll always find a way to grow." I thought, wow. And throughout that whole walk, I didn't notice the usual. I didn't notice the red roses in my neighbor's backyard, and I didn't notice the lush mango trees at the end of the street. I kept my head down, and I kept on noticing this, the wild grass, growing wildly everywhere. A plant so humble, yet so powerful. A plant so simple, yet I never noticed how it makes up most of the greenery that I'm seeing on my walks. Growing stubbornly through cracks and crevices, the wild grass taught me a thing or two about failure. You see, I think failure is an overused word. It's a word that's used not when someone actually fails, but when someone gives up. In the past, I've had 2 businesses, and I called that a failure, but in actuality, it didn't fail. I just gave up trying to make it work. Relationships that fail, it didn't fail. Most people just gave up trying to make it work. You see, nothing is really a failure until you decide to call it a failure. The wild grass, they don't sit around and sob over their field sprouts. No, they don't. They find a plant B, and then they find a plant C, and then that doesn't work. They create a plant D, and then they create a plant E. Whatever alphabet it takes, because what? Growing is a must for them. Not growing is not an option for them. And I realized becoming stubborn, that is the only way to avoid naming anything a failure. And so I started noticing stubbornness in everyone. In everyone. I mean everywhere. Even in my dad. He started as a fishmonger back in the day. Yeah, he was catching fish. He was catching fish to afford his own education in Australia. But then life had other plans for him. His mother got cancer, and he had to go back to Indonesia to support his family. He did start with no privilege, but somehow he went from catching fish to purchasing a house and to affording good education for 3 of his children. Even 2 of them were abroad. He didn't have a straight path. He made one anyway. And I noticed stubbornness in everything, even in the music I listen to. Okay, I'm a Swiftie. I'm a Gen Z. I think most of you guys are Swifties as well. You guys should be Swifties. Yeah. Woo-hoo! Swifties. See, even somebody as iconic as the woman herself, Taylor Swift. We see all her accolades. We see all that she's achieved. But really, it's not only talent, although it's obviously, she is talented, right? But it's not just talent. When she was a teenager, she was rejected by multiple record labels. She was underestimated by industry giants, and she constantly faced criticism. Even when her dating wife, you all know about her dating wife, right? Even when it went under fire, what did she do? The woman turned up into Grammy-winning records. And when the record company didn't give her rights over her own songs, what did she do? She re-recorded her masters. See, look around you. Different stories, different struggles, but they're all the same. The successful ones, they didn't wait for doors to open for them. They just built one. And when I started to see life through this lens, everything changed. Instead of what I wish I had, I asked myself, what can I do with what I have? I mean, I have money. Okay, that's fine. I had no university to go to, or that's fine. But I had a phone. And I had a Wi-Fi connection. And I have a lot of art that's just sitting around doing nothing. And so I decided to pick up my phone and make my first video. I pretended like everyone cared about my silly little paintings. And I posted like an influencer, like everybody cared. Hey, look, this is a painting. This is the food I eat. And I started just posting like an influencer, and I posted like everybody cared until they actually did. And without me realizing, I suddenly already made hundreds of videos, thousands by now. I made a 30-meter painting, and suddenly I got my first movie record. And my second the next year. Okay. Then not only in content creation, I faked it till I make it in business too. You know, this catalog picture, I took this in front of my house in my pajamas, okay? On the porch, under blazing sunlight. I almost got run over by a motorbike for this. But who cares? No fancy gear, no camera, no nothing. But it sold 20 bucks a pieces. Right? And when I needed a motion graphics designer for promotion, but I had no budget. Okay, who can afford a motion graphics designer? Come on. Nah. So you know what I did? I created 5 fake emails. And I borrowed a few emails. For what? For the free trials, of course. So I did free trial sessions for the software. And in the end, I learned the software, I made the video, and I became pretty good at it. And I'm not saying I'm a pretty good motion graphics designer today. Yeah. Small peaks like that, or big peaks like having a store in Indonesia. Yeah. Believe it or not, guys, when I pitched my brand back then to the fall team, it was literally just me. It was just me and my little packing team. I was just like a team of 3 back then. But I pretended that I had a whole department backing me up with every division. And yeah, we got the finance team, we got the fit out team. You know, don't worry about that. We got the legal team going on. But it was all literally just me. Until I eventually team Anna forward, you got in a viva. You see, becoming wild grass, you gotta clank yourself in everything. Not a single "you're too young" or "you're too inexperienced" could ever stop me from saying, I belong here. And that's why I need this painting. This painting is a reminder for myself to be there like wildcats. And I hope when you see this painting, it will remind you of 3 things. First, you don't need to be perfect, okay? You just need to be stubborn. Picture this, a thriving flower in a garden, perfectly curated and cared for by the gardener versus wild grass growing by the concrete on the sidewalk under blazing sun. Which one do you think will survive? Which one do you think will live longer and be stronger? Answer me, the flower or the wild grass? Exactly. You guys can answer that, but you guys keep waiting for the perfect condition, the perfect soil, the perfect sunlight for you to grow. You keep waiting for when you get that camera gear, when you get that studio set up, when you get that degree, when you turn 20 steaks, or when your mom comes home or whatever. But you think perfection is so good for you, but it's actually not. Perfection shields you, but it shields you from the very thing that you want, which is reaching your goals. You and I know that it's not too late for us to become content creators, or the market is too crowded to start that business. In reality, it just all boils down to what? Being stubborn. Just like the wild grass, even though life isn't handling it all the sunlight and all the water that it deserves. The question becomes really not, am I in the perfect condition to grow, but am I willing to grow or not? Second, growth takes time. Look, well, okay, I get it. You hate waiting. I hate waiting too. But if you know anything about these things, if you know anything about wildcrafts, is that they are nearly impossible to kill. Why? because they have such deep roots and so widespread that it's impossible to kill them. But they took time. They took time to grow. They took time to establish their roots. And why don't you take the time to establish your roots? Your progress isn't always going to be visible. You'll go through seasons where it feels like nothing is moving, but it doesn't mean that you're not growing at all. Okay? And the wild grass, these days, they don't compare. They don't compare its growth to the perfect flower in the garden. It knows that it has its own time. It doesn't rush. It doesn't doubt itself. It just grows. And do you guys remember what that gardener said earlier? The wild grass doesn't just grow. It adapts, okay? It doesn't fight the environment. It works with it. And it might scratch the curse through, even though no matter where it lands, it's exactly where they need to be. And that's exactly how you have to be in this life. These paintings, this wild grass, are designed to connect on every side. No matter how I turn them, they still fit. Because wild grass isn't rigid. It doesn't have a single right direction. It just grows where it can. And that's how adaptability works. We think that we need a straight path, a clear plan, but real strength comes from being able to move, shift, and grow, no matter where life places us. So remember, don't get caught up on the ways things should be that you forget where you are. Now, please stand up. Not you, just painting. So I can continue my talk. Okay. You want to sound. That's fine. Okay. So, here's my challenge to you guys. Take a look at your life. Think about an aspect of your life where you feel stuck. Is it your career? Is it your routine? Is it your relationships or your body image? Think about that one aspect in your life where you feel stuck. Now think about the wild grass. What would happen if you approach that same challenge with the same amount of persistence? How would you act differently if you know that no matter what, you will find a way to grow? So to answer this, what am I going to do with my life? Simple. I'll go. Thank you.